morning.
This morning. We are so honored and so privileged to have Steve CROFT with us today. The guy's busier than a one-armed bandit. I know that. So for him to be here, it takes, just a huge heart. And I just so appreciate you, Steve. I appreciate Anna for coordinating this whole thing, getting us all together. Steve has just 1 hour. And as I understand it, I'll turn it over to Anna, but he's going to be explaining some things, and we're also going to have a chance to ask some questions, I think. So let's just be mindful of his time. And so, Anna, why don't I turn it over to you, and you can, go on with it with Steve.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, Lynn. Good morning, everyone. Great to see you all. Indeed, we're very grateful to Steve for doing this for us. It is a subject that I believe it's incredibly important on how to use the demo. And for those of us that have used it and not yet mastered it, it's just going to add more value for those of us who have not yet used it and feel uncomfortable, with it still. This is just going to be humongous and huge, I believe, because definitely Steve, as far as I'm concerned, is, the guru of how to use this system. So my respects to him. Please take, plenty of notes. I believe that we'll be able to ask some questions, and we'll let Steve direct that. But this is definitely an opportunity to just get better and better and better at what we do in helping people. Amen. So again, thank you, Steve. Thank you also, Lynn, for being with us, and hope you're feeling better, my dear.
Thank you so much. I am. Thank you for your prayers.
Good. So, Mr. Steve CROFT, it's all yours. The room is yours.
Good morning. Thank you all for the kind words. And Lynn, we are glad that you're on this side of the grass. That's what we want you to say.
That's right. Thank you.
Well, guys, I'm honored to spend some time with y'all, and I don't want us to rush. So I told Anna yesterday and Lynn yesterday that I want this to be very interactive, ask questions. I'm going to go through things. I'll keep it at a good pace for you to do it. I do want you to take notes, and as I go through the demo, I'm going to at times address you kind of like I would a client. So you kind of see some of that as you go through it. But if we don't get things finished, and because there's a lot, I could spend 5 hours on this easily to help you go through it. I'll get with Lynn and Anna, and we'll reschedule another time, to kind of make it a storyline as we go through. So we'll get as much as we can done today. If you have questions, pop your hand up or just pop in. I'm not just unmute and say, hey, Steve, got a question. Can you clarify that? I want this to be something of learning and education. When I first started with UFF, I was like you. I didn't know anything about this demo. I didn't know anything about the MoneyMax account, how to use it. And I just kind of dove into it. But the demo account is the easiest way to do it because you can't break it. You can't break the MMA either. You can go in and do anything you want. And when you mess up, you just reset and start over again. So it's like a sandbox. Just get in there and play around, have some fun. Learn a tremendous amount of information this way as you go through it. So best way to do it. One thing that came up, and it came up yesterday, some people were talking about that when you do some of your analysis that you will sometimes just do the recorded version of the demonstration. Great recording. I use it every time I do a your interest, the one that Brian Nates has put together. It's an excellent one to do. But here's the interesting thing about it. You send that to a brand new prospect. Let's say you send Jane and Katie and the financial pathway to build from debt to wealth and the demonstration, the debt elimination program demonstration. They see that whole demonstration. They get into the analysis, and I'm doing a live demo with them on that. No one ever says, oh, Steve, go ahead. I already saw it. Oh, I understand all that. It's like they've never seen it before. It's a different part of your brain. When you hear a recording, it's just a different scenario that happens with that than when you're doing it live and you're interacting, asking them questions. It gives them a perception of they're really seeing, the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's one thing to look on the screen and see, it's nothing to hold it in your hand. So when you're demoing it to them, it will hit a different part of their brain and a different part of the entire storyline that you've been doing from the first time you said hello. Let me ask you a crazy question, all the way to the end of saying, congratulations, I'm so excited you're on your pathway to success with the MoneyMax account. It's an integral part of it. you already, right now, everybody on here, you already know way more than any prospect will ever know. You already are able to scare them to death with information. Okay. So take that into account that I don't want to say that you're way up here on a pedestal looking down on them, but realize that even when you make a boo-boo, they have no idea. They have no earthly idea that you really just kind of like your tank got all tangled up and everything messed up and nothing went well. It's okay. So let's start from the very, very beginning of where do you actually find this and how do you get it? Because when you are in an analysis and you're working with someone, here's where I do the demo. In the GPS one, my first appointment with the client, I've got them on here. We've gone through the talking. We went through the whole dream building. We went through all the interaction, really getting a good relationship going. And then we went through the educational part of putting their numbers in from their worksheet. So I walk through the input of the analysis. When I am finished with the input of the analysis and I review the summary page, that's the very last screen of the analysis, at that point, I tell them, great. Now, as I told you earlier, this is just our first meeting. We're not here to sell anything. It was educational. I hope it's been educational so far. I said, yeah. I'm going to let these numbers, the program, run your numbers tonight and work on that. But what I want to do now is I want to show you a live Money Max account. I stop sharing the screen at that point, just like we're doing now. But if I'm not sure if you all know, but you can look behind your screen. I mean, if anytime you do something, you can, if you toggle and do something, if you have a Windows thing or a Mac, you can actually look behind. Everybody can still see this, but I can look at screens behind here. So I look at that summary and I bring up the report so that I know how many years, potentially, because I haven't reviewed it yet, but at least an idea of how many years I'm going to save them and what their debt-free date's going to be and how much money I'm going to save them. Because I might use that during the demo at times. And I'm definitely going to use it at the end before we close. So that is when while you're doing that, you're talking to them while you're looking, but you're also logging into your demo account. So I'm going to bring up the screen so you can see what I do. But what I would bring up is I would bring up my account right here in the background. Okay, so here you are. This is your, I'm on the marketing page here of this, but everybody's, no matter what screen you are on, your UFF back office. That's where you have to log in to UFF back office. You've got your home page. I'm on the marketing page right now, news, prospects. Okay, right on the right-hand side where you see your name, there's a little arrow to the right of it. That drop-down arrow is going to bring up a lot of different options. The next to last one, right above logout, it says Money Max Account and Demo. Everybody has that. When I click on that, it's going to open up a new screen right to the right of that, and it's going to open up your demo account. Now, can everybody see that? The demo account right in front of you. Now, here's the thing. The first time if you've never opened this up at all, ever, some of you are saying, wow, where's that? Look at this. It's great. Yeah, you got it. It's there. If you've never opened it up, it might not come to this screen. It might come to a screen up here where it says settings. There's an option there that says reset account. This is where you can reset everything back. What I'm using here, I use a specific one every time. There's a whole bunch of them. I'll show you in a second. But this is the one that's already set for me. But if you came in the first time, yours might look something like this. This is the reset page. And you'll see it says select a scenario from the list, click reset, and it will reset to the selected scenario. So I want you to do the little drop down arrow. And the second one down just says checking savings method. So when you see that in the window, you've got the right one. Then right to the right of that, click the reset button. Do not click one of these at the bottom. If you click one of these at the bottom, you wipe out the whole demo database and you'll have to recreate it item by item by item to get back to it. You don't want to do that. Okay. Just click the little bitty reset button. And what'll happen, you'll see the little circle go round and round. It might take you a little while. It might even say error at times, but that's okay. It's going to bring up all the original data inside of the action plan and bring it right back to where you see here. And the way you can double check to make sure is kind of learn these numbers up top. 9.3, 68,459, and 173,000. If you see those, then you know you're on the right page and everything's done. Now, an interesting part. Yes, this is a live Money Max account. Fictitious couple, John and Rebecca Jones, live account, but it's only going to be active for about 20, 30 minutes as you go through. So here's one part that's going to happen. When you've done your analysis, remember, you're in your back office, you're in a prospect, you open their analysis, you go through all that could be, 20, 30, 40 minutes, depending on how long you talk with the person, maybe even longer than that. It's very possible that when you are having their screen and you're behind it, logging into here, it might say, hey, there's no demo account. You need to log out of your UFF account, log back in to start the clock back up again to allow you to have access to it. Because why do they have a timer on here, and why do they have this set up as a demo account? Well, if this was a full live account that stayed live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, everybody just uses their Money Max account. Okay, so you just want to make sure you reset it. And when you finish doing all your demos, because you'll have a lot of weird numbers in there, before you close it, always reset it. So you're ready for the next one. That's a habit. Every time I do a demo, the last thing I do before I shut down is I immediately reset. So I've got it set, because if I'm doing another analysis, like right after that, I don't want to have to come in here. And when I get there, it takes another maybe 30, 45, maybe even 2 minutes, depending on how the internet's going, to reset. I want to have it fresh and ready as it's going through. Right? Now, before I move forward, does anybody have any questions of how we access this? And here's, guys, there's no bad questions. I don't care what you ask. We're here to learn. I've been where you are. So if anybody has any questions about this part, any questions or concerns? If I don't see it.
I'm just double checking. All the actions that you just did are all under settings, right?
Everything is under settings.
Okay, I got it.
Settings. Yep. We'll talk about some of the other things, but the one you want is settings and reset account.
Right.
That's the one you use more often than anything else, is just reset account.
Yeah.
Great question, Ruth. All right. So this is the actual live account that you have. Now, when I work with a client or a prospect, or any time that you're doing, you want to kind of build a story. It makes it a lot easier. You don't want to walk in here and say, so the first thing I'm going to demo to you is this. The next thing I want to demo to you is this. Let me show you this feature, this feature, this feature, this feature. That's very cold and hard as you walk through it. You want to develop a story. Get to be friends with John and Rebecca. Create your own little story about John and Rebecca. The way that I've worked with it is I immediately start, as we bring this up, and I mentioned yesterday on the coffee call, and I've done it before, and I'm going to bring it back up again in case you haven't heard it. Some people have at times felt that it was best to demo from their own personal Money Max account and use that as your demo. And they're saying, the reason being is you're showing the customer that you're committed to it because you use it. Well, that's great to do that. I mean, you can tell your story of how you use it, but here's the drawback to that. Let's say here's John and Rebecca, and let's say they make $30,000 a year. Okay, this couple makes more than that, but they're a young couple. They're making $25,000, $30,000 a year. You bring up your Money Max account, and you're making 80 or 100 or 200 or $300,000. They're going to go, I'll never get to where you're at. This isn't for me. You've immediately cut a string of relationship. They feel disconnected with you. They're on different levels. Flip it. If you bring yours up and you're making $100,000 or $150,000 or $80,000, and your prospect makes $500,000 a year, they're going to say, why would I do business with you? You're just a hokey little person. You don't even make any money. You're not successful. Same thing. It doesn't matter which side of the picture it's on. It kind of loses the relationship because you're trying to compare with them or sync with them, and it won't sync unless you're lucky enough to be exactly the same as them. So the way I present this is I say, I'm going to bring up now, here's a live Money Max account. Now this is a young couple named John and Rebecca. And they're just like you and me. However, they don't match your income or my income. We're not worried about the actual income that they've got. What we want to talk about, and I want to walk through here, is actually how this works for them, because the math in here and the speed of this and the whole scenario we've talked about, this GPS approach, that's what I want us to focus on today, and just see whether a person makes $1 million or a person makes $10,000 a year. It doesn't matter. The actual functionality is exactly the same. So we're going to look at this young couple here, and they just finished with me, just what you finished with me. They sat down with me and we went through all of their financial snapshot, had all the numbers put in, and the analysis was run, and they came back and it showed us that it was going to take them 32 years to get out of debt if they stayed with the same plan that the bank and the finance and the car dealership and the student loans, all those, if they followed their plan. The only plan they had, I call it, remember we talked about door number one. They've only got door number one. That's it. It's the only option they've got. They never even knew they had a choice. So they have 32 years. And if they follow that same plan, they're going to have to pay an additional $240,000 of interest on top of all the debt they had. However, when the algorithms came back, look up here at the top, you'll see that it went from 32 years down to 9.3 years. And instead of 240,000, they're only having, their interest is only about $68,000. Because remember, I told you, I don't mind the banks making profit, just not oppressive profit as they go through it. So I want you to keep track of these numbers, and we're going to talk, and I'm going to ask you writing these down a lot today because it helps you to see the change as things go through. So they gave me their information, and those are the analysis numbers that came back from them. And when they went through their accounts, they did just like you did. Just so you can see that they were very similar to all of us. We all have different accounts. I'm clicking on the account area here, the Money Max, and they gave me, there's their checking and savings account. They have, a little bit in their checking, a little bit in their savings. They have 4 accounts that they're paying on a monthly basis. They have a $25,000 auto loan. They've got a $2,000 balance in their Visa. They just bought their brand new home and they're moving into it this week. And they also have a small home equity line of credit that they're trying to pay off. So they just have those simple things, just like you. You had a couple things. They've got a couple things. Some people might have 20 things. Some people might have 1 or 2 things. It doesn't matter. They just gave us that information. Then, just like you and I went through, John and Rebecca also went through their budget with me. They make about $5,000 a month combined, but they're very unique. They don't really itemize a lot. They only itemized, their food and dining and a couple of utilities, their phone and power bill. They use something very similar to a lot of people where they just put everything on like a credit card. And at the end of the month, they just have that, whenever that card comes in, they just pay off that balance. They average about $1,600. Now, remember, I told you, you can itemize down to paper clips if you want to. You can have 10,000. You can put every artichoke on there you want and keep track of it. Or if you like to just have it as one lump number at the end of the month, that's fine too. The beauty of that is at the end of the year, if you want to have a detailed report or you just want to have a summary report, it'll tell you where all your dollars went throughout the year. So those are 2 things that they gave. And if you notice, it's exactly what we just went through a little bit a while ago. So let's look at this. We call it an action plan. And it really covers, if you kind of go from left to right, we've kind of got the first main column here has a date and a from. What we've got here is this is what John and Rebecca, where information goes from something to something. And you'll see, we're starting here in January. We're going to use January as the time frame here that we're working with. And it has from, like the first line there, it says John, from John to checking. So we're going to see here that John has about $1,300 a month. I mean, every other week coming in, a couple times a month coming into him. And that's green, but you'll see that's where it's coming from. The middle column, the 2 section, those are all customized. You can call it checking. You can, instead of first mortgage, you could call it, your honeymoon home. Down here in Visa, you could call it Visa Business, Visa Home. Down here at Power, you could say it's, TXU or whatever your power company's name is. You can customize all these information in here pertain to how you yourself keep your financial flow throughout the month. Then on the last column here, you'll see all the dollars and cents. The dollars and cents that are here are color coded for a reason, to let you see. Green, just like money, that's money coming in. If it's blue, that's anything dealing with interest. I'm eliminating interest. I'm paying some interest. I'm making some interest. I'm crushing interest. Anything having to do with interest. And then anything black is what you personally said, I want to keep a detailed account of this throughout the year. So like here you see the $200 for power bill or $150 for their phone bill or food and dining. And at the very end, you see the unitemized budget. That's everything else. Their gas, their groceries, their life insurance, their anniversary dinners, their vacations, everything else goes into that kind of lump sum for them. Now, that looks very similar to what you do maybe on your spreadsheet, or you said you did on Quicken, or you put on your yellow pad. That's kind of your day-to-day action plan, your budget, your financial cash flow throughout the month. Here's the absolute turbo power and teeth of the system are these funny little red squiggly lines. What this is what the Money Max is, giving you that guided wisdom of where your money's going, and you never, ever will have a dollar that's not working for you. The beauty of the Money Max account is that it kind of has a threefold scenario. First thing, it's going to make sure you can pay your bills, because we all know that's important. That's day-to-day living. That's its first priority. Make sure you can pay your bills that month. Second, remember when we put in your bank accounts, I talked about your low water mark, your emergency fund. Second, it's going to make sure that your emergency fund is where you want it to be. And then third, after the first two have been accomplished, third, it's going to look at your discretionary income and apply that in the exact place, the exact time, the exact day, and the exact account to help get rid of that interest and keep it in your pocket and eliminate the principal. So in here, so far, we haven't even stepped into the month yet. This is like the day before the month begins. They're just getting ready to start using this. Right now, it's planning that there's going to be 3 special actions that they want them to do. Now, what I mean by special is, if you notice right here, see where it says their HELOC is $35.25 they're going to pay on the first of the month. So they're paying like an interest only on it. Just $35.25 this is their main payment they have. But if you notice, 2 lines down from that, that's a squiggly line. It's saying for them to pay an additional amount of $1,023.64. Now, who in the world is going to come up with a number like that? I mean, you and I are going to come up with like 500, 1,000, 1,100, 1,500, but no one's ever going to come up with $1,023.64. That is to the penny, the most optimal amount to make sure you don't change your budget, your lifestyle, nothing, and have an impact on getting rid of that one account there as you're going through. Now, one person, and if you notice right above that, it says to pay $2,000 to Visa. Now, if we go back to your account, if you remember, that was their entire balance they had left. So basically, it's paying that off. Now, I had a gentleman the other day, he said, well, Steve, what if I don't have that $2,000? Or what if I don't have that $1,023.64? It's a great question. You wouldn't see those lines because it knows that you have the available money. It's not going to say, yeah, put $50,000 towards this. Go out and find some. Go, sell your children, do something. But it's only going to guide you with the discretionary money that you have. Now, here's the beauty of this. This is not a cut and dry, the same thing every month. Like here, we've got 3 things this month at the moment. We haven't even started the month yet. It's just calculated by what you think that you're going to make an income and what your current month-to-month expenses are for debts and life and so on. And they have 3 actions, those 2 payments. And then down here later on the month, on the 15th, it's saying you've got too much money in your checking account doing nothing for you. Move it over to savings. Yes, I understand. You only make 0.00001%, but that's better than nothing. It doesn't want your money sitting there doing nothing. So there's 3 actions right now, but guess what? Those could all disappear instantaneously with just 1 action or 2 actions happening during the month, just anything that goes through there. So it's going to fluctuate as your life moves around. It always, you just tell the system, tell this program, tell this guide what's happened and let it guide you. Now, remember when we first met in our very first meeting yesterday morning, and we're talking about the whole concept. I'm saying, I want you to think of a paradigm shift, okay? They never told you had a choice. They never told you that you had more than just door number 1. You have a choice. But the reason is your life is different. This month, everything's great. Next month, the water heater blows up. I mean, things just happen. So that 9.3 up here at the very top, it could go up and down. As like you might get a raise, okay? You might be laid up for a couple months. It's going to fluctuate, but it's always going to guide you so you never have to panic. So let's start with the panic. I just want to kind of, let's just look through the life of John and Rebecca for like a month or so here. Just some normal things that happen in daily life, right? Now, before I jump into that, guys, anything I've gone over here right now that anybody has any questions about?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm curious, why do they on the same day make two separate payments to the home equity line?
Ah, okay.
And then I have one more question about the unitemized budget, really just a distinction.
Okay. The reason there's two here, this first one here, the 3525, that's their normal monthly minimum payment.
Okay, got it. Okay. And then the other one pays off the principal.
The other one is the Money Max account giving you that additional action that you would never have thought of to the exact amount to help pay off the principal.
Okay. Right. And then in the unitemized budget, that's almost still, because of the way you have to execute, is another way of itemizing, right? Because if I take, like, I made $100 to the beauty salon, I would go in there and have to put that on as a category, right? So it, right?
Okay. Yes and no.
Yes and no. Oh, okay.
That's right. Continue on. Tell me how you under.
So I use this. So as an unitemized budget, when you execute it, not execute it, but when you just really take away from the amount that you set up, and it's not the full amount. It's not a final transaction.
Right.
You categorize it in your category, and you also do a memo, or you go to who it is. So say in that situation, I went to the name of my salon, color and cut, and then I did it as a category of personal upkeep or whatever.
All right. So you're saying if you had it here and you said hair,
yeah,
okay, and you come over here to, and guys, what we're doing is, and we'll step into this a couple seconds long, but she's doing one transaction here. I can actually say, it might be, health and fitness. And when I execute that, I'm executing 1,500. What I could say is I'm only executing $100 of that 1,600 for the hair. And when I execute this, what you'll see on the action plan is now at the bottom, it only says 1,500 down here. And in the background, it's kept track of that transaction there as you're going through. So that's an on-the-fly way of keeping categories. Up here, this is something that I know every month I'm always going to have a power bill. I'm always going to have a power bill. I just don't know what it's going to be, but it's usually about $200. So when I actually pay this power bill, just like Ruth said, when I pay the power bill, I'm going to execute this, and I'm going to put exactly what the power bill amount is. Maybe it was $195 instead of $200, and I'm going to say final transaction. Yeah. That means that's my bill. I just paid it. It's gone, and now I'm going to actually put this into my account. It's done. You'll see the power bill is going to be gone. That $200 is gone. I've executed it, and here's the 1,500. I still have 1,500 more of my unitemized. The reason the unitemized is there, it's a lot easier for people on all the things that are on the fly that they don't really care about having in their action plan. They just, on a daily basis, $50 for the birthday and $50 for that. That's one way. Some people just do it at the end of the month. They don't care about the hair and the gas. They don't care where it all went. They just know my unitemized budget items average about $1,500. And they put everything on Visa or MasterCard or Chase or whatever. And at the end of the month, when they get that bill and it says it's $1,430.16, that's the last thing you do at the end of the month, on the 31st in your action plan. She clicks on that and you do the final transaction of exactly what the bill is. I'm not really worried about where that 1431 was if I'm unitemized budget items, because my itemized things are above there, the ones I want to keep track of. If I want to keep track of restaurants, make a line item for restaurants. If I want to keep track of birthday presents, because I have 9,000 grandchildren, put birthday presents in. And then whatever's left, call that in the unitemized budget amount. So we don't want you to have to all day long always type on here, goodness, tons of things. You're saying, yeah, I spent 13 cents over there for, a stick of gum, and $1.33 for Starbucks, well, it'll be $13 for Starbucks. And, that's what the unitemized budget's for people that just want to lump everything together as one total at the end of the month and pop it in there. Does that make sense, Ruth?
Yeah, but they also have, I think this is where it can change your thinking. It's also has a way of showing you, if you wanted to categorize it, where you're spending that unitemized budget.
Well, you're always going to have your reports up at the very top. Okay. You're going to have your reports at the top where you can pull that up anytime you want and pull reports out of item by item by item as you go through it. Okay. So those are always there. You can always look at the history of certain things if you need to, of what's happening as well as you go through it. But for the day-to-day action, see guys, I pay my bills twice a month. So I'll sit down at my computer and I get on my bill pay program at the bank and I make all my payments, everything. Then once I'm there, I step over and log into my action plan here, my MoneyMax account. And all I do is I just walk up to each one by one. Let's say it was these three here. And I just say, I paid this one, this one, this one. That's all I did. I can sit here and say I can execute all of them if I want to. And it will allow me to bring all three of them up. And I can change the numbers right here of anything that I need. Okay. Or you can do them one by one, like we just did a second ago. But you just tell the program, I did this, this, and this. That's what I've already done. And all of a sudden, I'll follow whatever the red squiggly lines are saying as it's going through. You just follow what the red squiggly lines do, all right? Now, before I move into seeing how the things are actually functioning, anybody else have any questions of where we've gone to just kind of give it an overview? If you know, I've kind of built a story here about John and Rebecca. I told them they're very similar to the client, and I'm doing that for the client's purpose. That John and Rebecca just went through exactly what you did. It makes them feel that they're the same as other individuals. I'm not doing something very bizarre, different. I'm following the same basic story with them, but then making it very customized for them. Okay. So any questions about what we've gone through up to this point?
Steve, this is Debbie Fields. Thanks for your time today. Quick
Yes.
question. Has anyone ever given pushbacks thinking that you're showing private information from Steve and Rebecca that they're thinking, well, what's to stop him from showing mine to someone in my echelon of income?
Excellent. When I meet with guys at the very beginning, if you heard, the main thing I say is here's a couple, John and Rebecca. This is a fictitious couple with a live MoneyMax account. So, and I remember I told them also, I said,
great. I missed that. I apologize. That's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. When you do that, and also make sure you do the two things. Let them know here's a live MoneyMax account with our fictitious couple, John and Rebecca Jones. Great little couple, just like you and me. But then I make sure you always do the thing saying, now their numbers will not be the same as yours or mine, because they might be making more money than you, less money than you, it doesn't matter. It's the way this MoneyMax account will work. It's just math. So whether I make $1 million or $10,000 a year, what you're going to see as we walk through this, the mathematical results, I want you to see the speed of it and how it goes from item to item and how it plans your future for you to meet your goals. So you kind of tee it up. That's an excellent question, Debbie. You always want to tee it up to make sure people understand what you're showing them. I've had, when I first started, they brought up I didn't do that at the very beginning, like the first 2 or 3. And one person said, well, my name's not John. And those aren't the numbers I gave you. And if you don't really plant that in their head, that this is not them, they're thinking you're showing them their analysis. So you want to make sure you truly have, it's like if you go to a 7-course meal and they give you sherbet between a course, it kind of replenishes the palate. You want to kind of replenish the palate of all that you've gone through in the analysis to have a fresh mind of, now I want to show you this live program, which will be the program you're going to be using. But this is just another couple. This is a fictitious couple, John and Rebecca, with a live account. It really sets it straight, because then they won't worry about the fact that, well, I make more than $1,300, a couple of weeks, and we don't have, unitemized budget of $1,500. Ours is like $4,500 a month. You keep going through there saying yours is probably a little bit more, a little bit less than this, as we talked about. Since you already know their numbers, you said, as you know, yours was less than this, but the math will be exactly the same. But that's a great question, Deb. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Here's the storyline that I work through. Once I've gone through that, And I've kind of given them a nice overview, kind of a step by step. You know, we actually did a few things I rarely will do with, you know, some transactions like we just did with Ruth, you know, of eliminating some and doing some. I won't do any of those at the beginning because that will confuse them. I'm just going to give an overview of everything, the 4 columns, the red squiggly lines, et cetera, as they go through this. So they've got it. Then I'm going to say, so let's walk through just kind of a common thing that happens in everybody's life. And we're going to look at this. You remember our fictitious couple, John and Rebecca here. They're just like you and me. They've got life. Things happen. So let's see how the Money Max account would guide you through this in the way that normal life happens. Let's just start off with John. I mean, they're just stepping into this first month of using the Money Max account. And it's actually the day before the first. It's the 31st, the month before. And John's a commission guy, you know, kind of like you and me, Tom. You know, we're both commission people. So he knows he makes about $1,300 every paycheck, but it could fluctuate up and down a little bit. But here's what happened. He gets a call from his boss the day before. And his boss says, hey, John, I know that your paycheck's usually around $1,300. Yours isn't going to be that amount this month. He goes, oh, I'm used to that. I mean, I know it always fluctuates. He says, no. It's going to be a lot different this month. That main account that we had, they basically went out of business. So that renewal that you were expecting isn't going to come in. And John goes, well, hold on just a second. And what he does, he's going to open up his Money Max account, whether it's on his phone, his tablet, his computer, whatever, because he wants to update what his check is going to be tomorrow. And then when it actually comes in, he'll verify, but he wants to know the impact it's going to have. Now, I'd like for you to write down, hey, Tom, I want you to write this down. You got your pad there? Good. Write down those numbers you see on the top there. Would you write down 9.3 years? And guys, y'all do the same thing. 68,455.32 and 173,411.35. Write those 3 numbers down because it happens so quickly here with things as we go through it, but I want you to see the impact positively, negatively, excitingly of how a decision that we make or a what if that happens, it'll give you an educated piece of information of the impact of the decision you're going to make before you even make it. So here's John. We click on here. I'm going to click on execute because it's going to open up a detail of this check of $1,300 that he's expecting. And this little window that pops up, it gives us our date and our amount. It has John and checking and all the information we need here. And he's asking his boss, well, boss, what's my check going to be? It's not $1,300. He says, well, John, it's going to be $10. Now, Tom, if you're expecting $1,300 and you got 10, how would you feel? And guys, sideline, everyone says, man, we'd be crazy panic. We wouldn't know what's going to happen. I say, that's what the average happens in the world because no one's ever shown you that you have a choice of how your money works. The Money Max account will take all the stress and pressure out to let you know that you're okay. Because all I'm going to do is I'm going to put $10 in here. And I'm just going to say save to the action plan because the check hasn't come in yet. It might end up being $10.15. I'm just putting 10 because that's what the boss said. Now watch what happens when I do this. It's going to update his check on that line item. See, now it says $10 instead of $1,300. But look, it really didn't change his years to pay off. Still 9.3. Now the interest did go up from 68,000. Just about 1,000. But remember, his paycheck went from 1,300 all the way down to 10. That's a whole lot more than $1,000, but the interest went up a little bit there because, of course, that lack of money was money that could be used to help get out of debt. Right? But look what else happened. Remember how many squiggly lines we had before? We had 3. Oh, there's only 2 now. It realizes things have changed for the month. It also added a line. We've got a red number. The Money Max account right now is saying if nothing changes tomorrow on the 1st, today's the day before, if nothing changes tomorrow, if you don't get like a bonus from somebody or you don't, sell something on a garage sale, if there's no more income coming in tomorrow, you're not going to have quite enough to make it through the month. So you need to, with what you have now in your checking account, you need to move some money from savings to checking. $1,223.96 to the penny, not a penny more, not a penny less. But it also, remember we had that HELOC. We had that big number before. It's not even on here anymore. They're saying just make your minimum payment for that. And instead of paying off the Visa, which was $2,000. Now it's only $1,738.56. And then later on the month, we're going to move some money back from checking to savings when a couple more paychecks come in. So how many people, if they had gotten almost $1,300 less, Tom, would you make an extra payment of $1,700 to your Visa bill if you just got dinged $1,300 in your paycheck? And they all go, no. That's why having the ability to see the future, which you can't do with a spreadsheet. A spreadsheet, Quicken, Yellow Pad, whatever, tells you where you are today and what's happened in the past. The Money Max account tells you where you are today and the past, but it also can tell you in the future. Every decision you make, it can give you the impact of that as you go through it. So they've had kind of a little rough start to their month, right? And then his check comes in on that day and it is $10. So he leaves it like it is. If it wasn't exactly $10 and he found that it was actually $10.15, he can go right back here and just say $10.15. At that point, what we could do is we can say that's the final transaction because I actually got my paycheck and I can execute that. Then it's going to delete that line item. You'll see it's going to be gone. The $10.15 is gone. We know nothing really changed much up top. It's only 15 cents. But let's go on. Life continues to happen. Number one, they're not panicking. It's guide them through this month, kind of a tough month. Well, let's make the month even tougher. Rebecca, she wasn't home when all this happened, when the check came in. John was kind of afraid to tell her. She's on the other side of town with grandma. She's been there for a couple of days helping her with some things in the house. She's on her way home. And she calls John and says, hey, John, on my way home, everything's great at grandma's house. We got everything taken care of. She's so excited. There was a huge wreck on the interstate on the way home. And the state trooper had everything set so everybody go around on the shoulder so we could keep traffic going. I was the first one going through. Boy, there was metal and stuff there. Honey, it blew out all 4 tires in the Suburban. He goes, oh my goodness, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. They got me on a flatbed. I'm on my way to Discount Tire right now. He says, hey, listen, you're the best wife I've got. Get the best tires. Okay. So here's the beauty of this. Do you see anything on this action plan for tires? I don't see anything on here. The Money Max account just lets you add those things that pop up that you don't expect. I can put it into my action plan and it'll tell me exactly the impact it's going to have, and it'll even guide me the best way to handle it. So let's add. I'm just going to click Add New Action. I'm going to withdraw. Now, here's the part that you cannot do with either just thinking in your mind or spreadsheets or Quicken or whatever. Most everybody says, just throw it on your Visa. Okay, let's decide. But here's the thing. I'm going to do a what if. She's sitting in the lobby. She knows how much the tires are going to cost. They already told her. Well, Mrs. Jones, they're going to cost $1,400 to put your tires on for your Suburban. And let's put it right up here. I'm going to move it back on the date so it's right next to that paycheck because it's the first of the month here. So I got $1,400 the first of the month, Visa, and this is kind of going where Ruth talked about. Here's where you can put in some unique details. These categories are all customized, Tom. You can put any of these you want in here and you can add, subtract, make whatever you want in here. I'm going to go down here to vehicle transportation and call this maintenance. So at the end of the year, I can have a detailed list of all the maintenance on my vehicles in the house. Now I've got the information here, but I'm just going to save this as a what if. What if I pay for the tires with $1,400 on the Visa? So I click save. Now remember, we're up there at 69,437. Ooh, we went from 9.3 to 9.5 years and 74,969.89. We went from 69,004 to 74,000. That's like, goodness, $5,000, almost $5,500. But wait a minute, the tires are only $1,400. Tom, here is one of the most beautiful guiding lights that are in this program. This little bitty box up in the upper right-hand corner called True Cost. See, when I make a decision to buy something, to pay something off, to save some money, I get a bonus. Anytime something changes in my financial snapshot, it has an impact on the future. What's the true impact of that decision? Well, here she wants to see what's the impact if I buy it on Visa. I'm going to click True Cost, and right underneath it says that $1,400 tire purchase on my Visa has a true cost of $4,527.60. Now, Rebecca goes, that's not good. Don't like that. So here's what she does. She goes right back. She says, I'm not going to do that. We've got money in our emergency fund. So she takes one click. Now I want you to write down that 9.5, write down the 74,969.89. And also you can see the potential of 166,896. Write those three numbers down. Now she's going to say, hey, we've got the money in there. All it takes is just, I click execute, just one click here. I'm just going to change it to checking where I've got some money in my checking account for my thing, or you can have your savings account. Either way you want to do, wherever her emergency fund is. And she leaves everything else the same. She just changed it to savings and click save. Once again, the what if, look what happens when she does the what if, that 74,000 drops all the way down to 70,600, and she picked up 1/10 of a year. Now, 1/10 of a year, so a little over a month she picked up, and everything now we've got, look what's happened here. They've had a lack of their paycheck come in. They had to pay tires, and they're still able to make it through the month. We lost another squiggly line. So the only thing that we're doing this month above and beyond our normal payments is later on the month, we're going to move some money from checking to savings. Once again, we actually going to have too much money in our checking account after losing a paycheck, almost the whole thing, and having to buy tires. And everything took care of itself by just choosing what if. What if I do it on Visa? What if I do it with cash? I can make an informed decision before I ever give a dime to anybody out there. So let's give them some good news. Rebecca pulls out. She's driving down the road, loving her new tires. It's just smooth, and she's enjoying the ride. Everything's great. She gets a call from her boss. She pulls off the side of the road, like all of us should. She's talking to her boss, and her boss says, hey, Rebecca, I got great news for you. Your performance appraisal just came in from your supervisor. Man, they gave you 6 stars out of 5 stars. Said you're the best employee we've got. I mean, they just glowed about you. Now, Tom, if you heard that from your boss at your annual review, what do you hope is going to happen in the next year? Right, a raise. That's exactly what happened. So Rebecca calls John and says, hey, honey, I got great news. My boss just called me, and guess what? I'm going to get a raise. He goes, fantastic. So he goes in here, and what there's 2 things that are going to happen here. One, she wants to find out the impact it's going to have on here, because here's their normal budget they've got going. She wants to see the impact. So she goes to her budget. She says, honey, I'm on the side of the road. I've got my Money Max account open, and I'm just so excited. I got a raise. He says, well, great, honey. What's your raise? Well, she makes $1,200 twice a month. And she says, well, honey, $25. He goes, wow. Well, congratulations, sweetie. Love you. $25. Fantastic. Well, Tom, what's the average family going to do with a $25 paycheck raise? And guys, side note, you'll hear everything from Chuck E. Cheese, blow it on a restaurant, it doesn't even show it. It disappears before we even see it. They understand that $25 does nothing for them. Okay. So I tell them, well, let's see what happens with this change. And let's even make her, since it's only $25, let's even make hers a little better. So at least she gets every other week. So she gets a couple more checks a year. It's still, we're only talking $25 a paycheck over, 26 paychecks in the year. Write down that 9.4 up there, and write down the 70,612, Tom, and the 171,254. Probably one of the biggest myths in the world is that nobody can make an impact in their thing by keeping dollars and cents. They just think of the big numbers. Look at the impact this will have. We're going to add her raise to their entire financial snapshot and their Money Max account and their action plan for now and the future. Look what happens here. We're saving this little bit here. It went from $70,000 down to $61,000 of interest. Yeah, Ruth's going, wow. Yeah, but here's even better. Look to the left. We were at 9.4. Look where they're at now, 8.3 years. We took almost 13 months off of their debts. And realize, they're paying about $1,500 a month on all their debts. That's $18,000 a year with another month, almost $20,000 they saved of not making payments that stay in their pocket, and $9,000 of interest on a $25 raise. Tom, would you, if you got $25, would you like for it to give you a return of $20,000? Yeah. And look, we've put into an action plan here. Everything, we've seen the big change here for them, but we've also seen there's still just one action item this month because they kind of had a tough month, but they're going to move some money from checking to savings on the 5th instead of the 15th. Okay. And that's where they're going to move everything. But here's her raise, $12.25. Here's hopefully John's next check of $1,300 for the month. Everything's taken care of there. Now they start seeing these actions here and they go, wow, what if we got a little more creative with our unitemized things, that we don't go to Starbucks 45 times in the month, or we don't go out to dinner 3 times in the week. And what if we just change that so we could save maybe $200 a month out of that? See the impact it would have. So they go in and they just say, let's just change this, the amount, instead of that, you know, we're going to take it off and take $200 off of here and put that into the action plan at this point. What's going to happen with this, with that $200, it immediately shows that they're only going to spend 13, and you're going to see that it gives them more impact of what they're having here, and they've got their self set for the whole month. Now, do you see how easy this is? If you notice, Tom, did you notice every time I did these, it instantaneously made an impact right away? They see exactly what happens. They know exactly what to do the next day, the next second, the next month. It shows everything. We're only looking at the first month. It actually has 2 more months in front of them. Next month, they've got a lot of squiggly lines to work with because they got both their paychecks, and they've got her raise, and 2 months down the road, they've got a couple things that are going to action here as well. But let's talk about some future. Now, John, you said that you wanted to have some rental properties, right, Tom? Yeah. Okay. What would we do with it? How would we put that in here? Well, we just add another account. Now write down those numbers up there, because we're going to work with these 8.3 years and 61,966. Let's go into the account section, because that's where it is. We're going to add a new account or a new debt, because we've got our auto loan, our Visa, mortgage, and so on. All we're going to do here, Tom, is we're going to add a new account here on the left-hand side. Now I want you to help me with this. We're going to put a mortgage in, and we'll just call this one our rental number 1, because you might have more down the road. And we'll get this to get our mortgage from First Mortgage. Now, on the details, Tom, help me out here. In your area there, what would be an average price for a small rental home? And Tom says $250,000. Okay, so you got a $250,000 home. What do you think's the rate going to be on a rental price for the mortgage? Is it 4%? Okay, 4%. And we'll give them a 30-year mortgage here. Now, here's the beauty of the Money Max account as well. Right here, as you're putting this in, right down at the bottom, it has actually a calculator built into this to do all the principal and interest for you. One click, it tells me the monthly payment's going to be $1193.54, $1193.54. And we'll just assume that they're just going to do their own escrow at the end of the year to make it easy. So we just leave that like it is. Let's put this into the account here. So we're going to add a brand new account, and we're even going to put it out a couple months. I'm going to say it's going to take them, if we're in January, we're going to take it till March to be able to get everything, found it and close it and so on, and get everything in their account portfolio. Let's save this. It's calculating everything in here on their action plan. Wow, look, we went from 8.3 years up to 22.2 years. Interest went sky high and 296,000, and their potential went down a pretty good chunk. Interesting. We must be missing something here. We've got a rental property. Tom, is there anything that we're missing here? I've got a rental property here. You said you wanted to have rental property for investment and cash flow. He says, absolutely. I need a renter. I need a renter in here. But look, here's the great thing. Even if I never got a renter, remember we started out at 32 years. If I never got him, if that thing sat empty for the whole time of that mortgage, I'd own my home, have everything paid off, and a full rental property in 22 years. But it's going to be a lot better than that, because you and I both know that we're going to get some income from this. All right. So I'm going to go back into the budget, and here's their income. Here's John and Rebecca. Remember the income they had. There's her raise we put in there a little while ago. We need to add the income of a rental property. So I'm going to add income over here. I'm going to write in here and put in rental number 1. And we'll call this rental income. So I can go in here to income. And once again, these are all customized here. I'm going to call it rental income. And Tom, for a $1,100, $1,200 mortgage, what's a good rental amount you'd have? $2,000? Okay, let's put $2,000 in. $2,000 a month for that rental property. And it says March 30th. Let's say it takes them a long time to get this person in here. Let's put it all the way out to maybe August. It took him, 3, 4, 5 months to get somebody to give him a renter in there. So we've got everything set in here for the start of his month, and we're going to save that. Let's watch these numbers. From 22.2 went down to 10.5 years, but look at his potential savings now, just shy of $300,000. Guys, what we've done is we went from 32 years, Tom, down to 10.5. But now you're going to own 2 properties and all your debt's paid off. And after 10.5 years, you're going to have a $2,000 positive cash flow every month from your rental property. Every month as you go through it. Every month. Now, sometimes, Tom, you told me sometimes you get some little bonuses pop in. I'll throw one more thing in here and see and kind of walk through a few last things. We kind of tie the ribbon together. Let's say that you said you sometimes get a bonus. What do you say? Well, really, that's a nice one. So let's put a deposit here. So you're saying you're going to get we'll just call this a bonus, and we'll just pop it into your checking account. And let's put it here at the same time. We'll put it right here. Let's say it came in this month, just like everything else did. We'll put it here on the 10th. And you said it was like $15,000 bonus. Good for you. That's outstanding. And I'll just choose my category. It says income, and we can actually call it bonus if we want to. Once again, keep those categories. By saving that, I'm just giving the MoneyMax account what happened and let it give me all the direction of what to do with it. Look, we dropped ourselves down a little bit here, a little bit less interest, well over $300,000 now, but look at all of the additional actions that it's helping me to do to use that money the best way possible. Here's our savings. Look, it immediately sends everything over to savings to set everything up to get some huge principal pay downs. $1,984.13 to my Visa. I'm going to basically pay off the HELOC, and I'm going to pay another $10,000 to my mortgage. Guys, these are the things that you want to have happen as you work with a client, is let their dreams, put their dream. If it was a beach home, I would have put another mortgage in as the beach home. If it was taking their kids on a vacation, instead of the rental property, I'd use it as a vacation scenario. It lets them see how easily things can be added into it. And I'm constantly asking, hey, Tom, did you see how quickly that worked? Yes. Now, when I get to the end of this, at this point, sometimes I'll close out the whole month for them to let them see it. Don't always do it, but I can show them, very quickly. We could say, hey, let's just clear out the whole month. And with one click, I can say, select every one of these and make it a final transaction. And it'll actually put everything you've done that month into that. And you can see, look up here at the top, he's already saved $2,250.62. That's money that he has saved in the first month of using the MoneyMax account. It actually executed, went from 10.2 to 10 because it actually executed all those what ifs into there. And so he sees, and now we're ready to start the next month as we go through. Guys, at this point, I say, Tom, is there anything in here, and he might have been peppering me with questions during this, is there anything in here that you see that was confusing to you? I know it's brand new. It's like riding a bike. We're going to scuff our knees and bump our toes a few times. Great. Let me ask you a very simple question. Looking at this as a tool, you saw how easy it worked. Okay? I always like to find out kind of where your comfort level is. Let's use a scale of 1 to 10. Tom, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being, Steve, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. And 10 being, I can see myself using this. It works. I love the way it helps me go for the future. It's my digital financial advisor, as you said, for the rest of my life. Where are you at between 1 and 10? If I've done my job properly and I did everything right, I'd never get anything less than 8, ever. I just don't. If I take shortcuts and don't show them, and I didn't do the GPS properly, you'll get 3s, 4s, and 5s. But by doing this demo, they're totally ready for everything. I mean, totally ready for the next meeting as you go through it. So at the end, that's when I would finish this. I would bring it back to the whole page at that point where I'm just looking at him and me and say, hey, Tom, you know, I love what you said. Of course, you know, I have no idea if this is going to work perfectly for you till we see your numbers come in to see if you qualify and it works well for you and if there's time savings and money savings. But I'm sure you want to see your numbers, don't you? He goes, yeah, great. Let's get our calendar out. I've got some time tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. What's better for you? And I book it. And I tell him, great. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you an email with the Zoom information. I'm also going to include a couple short videos in there. One is kind of like an overview. It's 28 minutes, kind of an overview of the whole thing we've done from the beginning to end, a little history of the company, a little bit more about how this works. It'll really prepare you for our meeting tomorrow. You're going to love it. I'm also going to include a short video with an interview with our founders. Let you see the men who actually work with this and have done it for 16, almost 20 years, really working with the whole aspect of finance to kind of give you a good picture of where this is all coming from. And then I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Oh, by the way, Tom, one last thing. If I was able to eliminate, like we did there, remember with them, how we eliminated a year off of their mortgage with just that one little raise? If I was able to eliminate 6-7 years off of your mortgage and all the other debts that you have, take all your debts, knock 6-7 years of not making any payments anymore, and help you potentially save as much as $60,000, maybe even $70,000. Is there any reason you wouldn't want to acquire this program and start using it yourself? I know, depending on cost. They'll always say, well, absolutely. Okay. I'll leave you with one other thing. With that in mind, just keep this in mind, because I know you're an investor. If you gave me $5,000 and let's just use John and Rebecca's number here, 5, and 10 years later, I gave you $60,000, $70,000 back. Would that be a good investment? Yeah, fantastic. Listen, watch those videos. You're going to absolutely love it. I can't wait to see tomorrow if things work out well for you. And if any questions pop up between now and then, just give me a text. I'll be more than happy to give you a buzz. And guys, that's how I finished that. It was very, very quick. And don't worry about we're at 10 o'clock here. I'll go a few more minutes here. I can pop in late on the other one. They just sent me a text. They're late anyways, so it's good. What kind of questions do y'all have? Some things that I went through here that I can clarify or help you understand about this.
Well, go ahead.
First of all, more than questions, I am just in awe about some of the things that I actually was missing in this, and so very, very important. So thank you very much. I'm in wow.
Well, for me, I tell you what, Steve, it's like a big aha moment, because the power of what I've seen this morning, if I marry it up with match it up with the other things, is the storytelling. Yeah. So you're bringing the storytelling into it, and that's the power. Thank you so much for that. I never looked at it that way before. It's kind of methodically going through, but when you thread the story in, that's perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And you want to make sure as you go through that story that you do engage them. Now, Tom was fictitiously here in front of me, but it's not just all going one way. As I'm talking to them and I'm asking him questions, that could be like a 2 or 3 minute conversation at times.
Right.
And that's where the power of this demo cannot be done on a recording.
Right.
They're if it's a lecture, and Lynn knows this because she speaks in front of thousands of people all around the world. If you're not engaging that client, and the oldest thing in the world is, and it's slowly shrinking. It used to be 12 minutes, then it went down to 10. Now it's 7. Some people it's like 7 seconds, but the average person, you've got about 7 minutes of attention with them. And then you have to ask permission for the next 7 minutes. And that asking permission could be something as simple as asking them a question or saying something funny or just, moving over. You remember when we talked about, and they talk about that little switch of information coming to them. Once again, it's like that sherbet on your palate in between courses. It allows them to kind of re-engage, and now you get another 7 minutes to do something. You can't go 40 minutes of it just goes in one ear, out the other. It's like a big old fire hose. Remember, we know more than they do. That's why I get it very down to things they understand. You're going here, you're driving on the road. I want them to visually feel their tires blow out. I want them to visually feel the excitement of getting a raise. I want to get the emotion going. And when I see them, I'm always watching directly into them. The number of times that I go through a GPS 1 or GPS 2 with a person, the number of times I say, Diana, I can see you've got a question right now. I'm sure you got a question, don't you, Diana?
Perfect.
I have many questions.
Now, would she have popped on there if I didn't ask her to? She was looking at me saying, oh my goodness, I think he wants me to answer. So ask me your question, Diana.
Okay, let me see. Gosh, I have, I don't know enough to know what question to ask you. I'm just starting.
Okay.
But what question? I don't know. How many mortgages can you put on the system?
There you go. First, I applaud her because number one, she thought about something, she engaged. That's what you want to do with the client. You can have with the basic program, there's 4 levels. The first level is no mortgages and up to $80,000 in debt. That's called our gold plan. The plan that probably 70 to 80% of the time that we work with clients is our platinum plan, which is up to 3 mortgages and doesn't matter how much debt you've got. You go to the next one above that, it goes from 4 all the way up to 10 mortgages. And there's one on the very top that goes from 11 to 30 mortgages, and that's a flat price, $5,995 and $26.95 a month for all the data automatically be populated in from all the banks to do that. That's investors that just don't have time to key stuff all day long. But guys, here's the part that's very important, okay? Diana's not caught her off guard, but Diana's sitting there. But the fact that I said, I see you got a question in your eye. If you do that with your clients, you will find massive amounts of information. I've heard things that never came up before, and I'm a pretty good question answer person during the GPS one. I'm going through that, and all of a sudden I pop out and I hear things that are just shock me, but it helps me to move to the next step because of something they just told me that's happening. So looking them in their eye, and Gil's got a big smile on his face. So obviously he's real excited about something he's seen today. So Gil, what's the best thing you saw so far? Bottom left-hand corner, Gil, mute button. You're getting close. There you go.
Okay. Well, the best thing is the facility or the speed you get to show the changes. So I think it impresses anyone to see that your savings go up or down depending on what's happening in your life. And I think that's very impressive and also very convincing for anyone to want to use this tool.
Perfect. And this is the type of conversations you'll have with your clients. You'll pull from them information that helps you to respond properly to them. This is not a canned presentation. It's a professionally planned presentation. In other words, there's certain nuances that we go through. I always walk an overview. I always talk about fictitious John and Rebecca. I always talk about, wow, when they first came in, they gave us some numbers, it was 32, and then it went down to 9.3. I'm using the same scenario, but then I get conversational with them by how they respond. If they're a very numbers-oriented person, you'll get people say, oh, I can do this myself. Absolutely, you can. I'm so glad you said that. Because, there are 1,000 different ways we can do things. And I'm sure that if you and I got in 2 cars, I'm here in Dallas, in Fort Worth area, and we were going to drive all the way to San Diego, and I gave you paper maps, and I gave myself a GPS, and you're the only person in the car, I'm probably going to get you there. I'm going to get there faster. They go, well, why? Well, the map will get you there, but you're having to stop, pull off the side of the road. You're going to have to look at it because you're driving. You can't do anything. And then you didn't hear about that construction over here, and you didn't know about this. Oh, they closed that road. They closed that state. And you don't know that. Next thing, you could have gone east instead of west and gone around the earth to get to San Diego. You'd still get there. Okay. It will work. But I'm with a GPS. I'm going to beat you every time. We'll both get there. So why would I want to do something myself when something electronically and technologically can do it faster. When I share that with people, they really get it. And I've got CPAs that use this, and I've got mathematicians a lot smarter than me in numbers that do it, but they get it. They say, my time is too valuable to sit here. Yes, Steve, I could probably get that in my spreadsheet. I said, you probably could, but why would you want to spend 3 or 4 hours? Every time you make one change, you got to go back and change all your algorithms. If you notice, just like Gil just said, it does it so fast. It's so fast, and it fits into everything that you're doing. So just let it do itself for you. So that's getting the conversation going back and forth with the client. So it'll take a little bit more time, but if you've done everything up to that point, it's so natural, like breathing in and breathing out. They're so excited to do it the next day. A great majority of mine, they want to meet the next morning. They don't even want to sleep on it. They want to see their numbers. And sometimes the numbers I come, I got bad news, it's going to be a short meeting. You don't qualify. Shocker. But then I take some time to educate them where they're at. Well, the fact that you make $2,000 a month, you spend $7,000 a month every month, just, got a lot of algorithms. We just haven't got the algorithm of how to print money yet. When we get to that, I'll give you a call. It's humorous and fiction, but sometimes you have that scenario. But if I did everything in conversation, like I did with Diana, like Gil did with me, like Ruth did, and, everybody's sitting there asking questions, that's how a GPS 1 and GPS 2, and sometimes a GPS 3 needs to go. I have no problem going 3 meetings if that's provides me the ability to be the best advocate for that client. Has nothing to do about the sale, nothing. I'm more concerned about the process. If I do everything I possibly can for that person, I don't care what they say, yes or no. I know that I did everything right. You have to grab that concept, guys. Okay. Now I'm a professional golfer all my life. Okay. I can do everything perfect in my swing and hit a beautiful shot. But once it's in the air, there's nothing I can do. It could hit a bird and land in the lake. It could hit a power line. It could hit a sprinkler head and go out of bounds. I can't control the result. I can just control the process. If you do that, your whole business will change. Don't ever get worried, frustrated, upset about how many people said no or yes. Just work on what Lynn and Anna and all's trying to do is getting the process in place of doing everything you can to get the right information in front of a person in the best way possible. Will it be smooth as silk? Guys, I was pitiful when I started, okay? But what you heard today, I've done this thousands of times. I've done it for 40 some years, okay? Try to do an auction with Lynn, she's gonna beat you every time. She did it in the Garden of Eden, trying to get, no, don't buy that apple, don't get that apple, don't get that apple, okay? She was there. It takes time. Everything is difficult before it becomes easy. So what I showed you today, please don't let it get you say, oh, I can't do that. Neither could I, neither could Lynn, neither could Anna. We all worked at it, and every time you do it, you get better. Record yourself doing it. Best tip I can give you, get your phone, put it on record, and give yourself a presentation. Why is that good? You want to take notes and listen to yourself. Now, some of you might say, okay, I don't want to record myself because my voice sounds funny. And Ruth is laughing. And I was a voice major in college, okay? As I'm talking right now, I'm hearing myself from my inner ear. But when I listen to myself on a speaker, and if you listen to yourself on a speaker, you're hearing yourself from your outer ear. So if you think your voice sounds really funny, got news for you. Guess what? You've sounded funny all your life. You just didn't know it, okay? Because you just heard it. But record yourself. You'll become 10 times better by recording yourself and fine-tuning, find out what's areas of strength and the areas to strengthen. And every day you'll get better and better and better and better with this. But guys, jump into that demo account. You cannot make a mistake as you're there. And the last thing remember I told you the last thing I always do when I'm on a demo account? So here we are. If I finish with Tom, before I logged off, I've already said goodbye to him, done. The last thing I do, I walk up to my settings. I say reset account. It brings up page. Remember up here at 10 and 116,000, 303. I just click here, the down arrow, go to the first one, hit reset. What it's going to do, it's going to take all those things I did and basically erase them, put everything back to the default demo data that's there, and give me the 9.3 at the very beginning. And the more you put into it, the little bit longer it takes for it to recap. But there it is, 9.3, 68,459. and the 173. Now I've got a brand new, ready to go for the next person I'm going to meet with, and I don't have to worry about anything being unprepared for me. I'm ready for my next prospect as I go through. Just keep that process in place. It'll always make you look very, very professional in everything you do. Okay.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, Steve, as you know, I don't have consumer debt, so I don't have the program. I don't even have that, you know, familiarity of working it.
Yes.
So this has been so helpful because, again, you can watch, you know, somebody go over it, but it's just kind of methodical, you know. It can't keep me for 7 minutes. But anyway, the storytelling and everything, just the anticipation thing with a story threaded to it. I can't thank you enough.
No, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah. Well, it's a great thing. And guys, I'll leave you with one thing. I have had the pleasure of helping people acquire this program, numerous ones that had zero debt. Zero debt. Because in the GPS one, I always constantly say, this is not a debt elimination system.
Right. Good
This
point.
is your digital financial advisor for the rest of your life. And I keep letting them know that, because even though they have nothing today, 6 years from today, they might buy a beach home. 6 years from today, they might have a nasty medical thing. And they've got $100,000 medical bill.
Right.
They've got the program to put it into it, just to keep track of their money, to increase their savings.
Good point.
You can do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I love spending time with y'all. This is great. And I hope it was productive for everybody.
Oh my, you can't believe. Priceless.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Thank you so much, Steve. Very valuable information. Thank you.
And Steve, I love your Mark Twain storytelling.
Well, good. Well, listen, God bless y'all. Everybody have an awesome, awesome day today. Make some things happen and help some people love life going forward.
God bless you.
God bless you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a
Bye-bye.
lot.
Thanks, Steve.